Right. Okay. Right. The last day of the session. Congratulations for sitting in through all these days. I hope you didn't have too many doubts after our last day session or the session the day before, because I didn't get too many doubts on the chat function. So I'm wondering if many of you were able to figure out how to use Kahoot, Mentimeter, and anything else that caught your attention. Right. Now, let's get on to today's session. Today's session is on using video conferencing tools and whiteboard tools. That's the title of the session, but I have a disclaimer right at the beginning. I will mention video conferencing tools because it's not too hard for you to understand different types of conferencing tools available out there. You must be all familiar with Zoom by now. Then, of course, we have tools like WebEx and Teams and Google Meet and stuff like that. So, but I will not be taking you through how to using a video conferencing tool. Rather, I would like to talk about how to make your lectures better when you are delivering it through a live synchronous video conferencing tool. And then, of course, we will talk about whiteboard tools too, which is why I have a little subtitle there where I'm talking about personalization and collaboration via synchronous video lectures. Now, this is what we'll be talking about today. How do you personalize your lectures and how do you collaborate? Remember last time we were talking about communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity as essential skills to be developed in all learners across disciplines. So that's what we are trying to look at again today. Synchronous, I hope many of you are familiar with the term synchronous. Synchronous only means live, happening. Like for instance, this is a synchronous session. It's not a recorded session. It's not an asynchronous session. It is synchronous because I'm talking to you and it's happening right now at this time. So that's the whole idea behind today's session. And a quick framework like what I did last time, we'll be talking about how you can achieve personalization and all the 4 C's, that is communication, critical thinking. I will never tire of telling this, so stop me when I become too repetitive. So we'll be looking at how you can achieve 4 C's and personalization in your pre-class, like when you're preparing for your classes, what are some things that you can do in order to make your classes more personalized? And in while class, while you're delivering your lecture, what is it that you can do? And at the end of it, that's the post-class session. How can you ensure personalization and delivering of 4 C's to your students? So that's the overall idea. Now, I would like to start by, I would like you all to think about what makes eye contact so special. What is it that makes it necessary for us to have eye contact? Mr. Rajshekar has raised hand. Will the organizers look? Is some reason I need to stop? Let me just check if the chat says something.
No, by chance it can happen. Ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, so the same rules apply like last time. If there is something that is so troubling you that you cannot go ahead to the next slide, it kind of blocks you from understanding the next slide, then of course, please stop, turn on your audio and ask me the doubt. Otherwise, put in all your doubts in the chat box and I'll take it at the end of the session. And like last time, I would like you to keep a connected device handy. So if you're listening on your mobile phone or your laptop, keep a device handy so that you can listen to me while trying out some of these tools that I'm talking about. Um, Let me just move this. Yeah. So we're talking about what makes eye contact special. Why do we need eye contact when we are when we talk to somebody? Like for instance, look at my class now. I only have this tiny little camera into which I need to, look and assume that all my audience is out there. So why is eye contact so important for productive and meaningful conversation. Eye contact kind of prepares us for shared interaction. It warns us, it kind of tells us in advance that there is shared interaction happening, that it's about to happen. It prepares our, it is this is not me speaking. There are actually scientific studies, research that prove it's eye contact that triggers something in our brains, the cerebellum to be precise, that prepares us for social interaction, telling us that there is, so that kind of makes your communication clearer and better. Now, in the absence of eye contact, why is my screen not moving? Hmm. In the absence of eye contact, like in cases of live synchronous lectures that we deliver to our students during these online teaching times, what happens? What goes wrong? In the absence of live contact, this is what happens. The teacher sits and delivers and delivers and delivers, and the students are doing everything else except listening to the teacher and or learning from the lecture. So this is what happens when there is no eye contact. Therefore, what can we do as teachers? That's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how can we motivate our students sitting behind the camera, because our students are spread all over the country, I mean, literally in various geographical regions. So sitting behind a camera, how can we motivate them? How can we make our lectures reach out to them? How can we teach them or help them achieve our learning objective, the learning goal? Now, for as a larger structure for the talk today, I'm taking Daniel Pink's model of motivation. Some of you might be familiar with it, where he says that if a person gets a sense of autonomy, mastery, and purpose, then a person can be motivated to do anything. This is not just applicable to the teaching learning context, it's applicable to all contexts. So if you can make a person have this sense of autonomy, what does autonomy mean? Ability to do something on your own, ability to feel, the feeling that you are in control, you are the master of your learning, you are the decider of how your learning has to progress. You can decide the pace, you can decide the materials, you can decide the structure, you can decide and fashion, you can fashion your own learning. Now that's autonomy. And mastery and purpose, the feeling that you've achieved something, is mastery. When you feel, those little goals that we set for our students, make them aware that they have reached little goals and then reached a final goal. This is exactly what we were talking about when we spoke about rubrics, and someone did tell me that the next day you're going to look at rubrics in detail. So I'm hoping you know what I'm talking about now when I say students need to achieve a sense of mastery. And then of course, purpose. Purpose is achieved when you can share with your students the goal of teaching, because all instruction has to have an objective and a purpose, especially for online teaching learning contexts, and also in the context of teaching adults, which is what most of us are doing, all of us are doing. So when you're teaching adults, they need to have a clear purpose in front of them. So every time when you start your class, you need to be able to tell them, this is what I'm going to do today, so that at the end of the session, they can ask themselves, have I learned what she had set in as a goal? So if you can achieve these three, your students will get motivated. Right. Now, how do we achieve this? We achieve this by providing our learners a sense of personalized learning experience, which by now you must have all looked at. You must have all looked at the rest of the slide by now, so I won't look at them. I'm not going to read them out, but you will see how each of these words highlighted in red is going to be transacted through Web 2.0 tools in today's session. Web 2.0 tool, just to refresh your memory, Web 2.0 is a digital tool or a technology tool or a web tool that allows us to interact with it. Interaction as in I can make changes on it. Like for instance, the last time we were talking about examples as Facebook and Wikipedia, Twitter, blogs. These are all interfaces or the screen that allows you to make changes on the screen. So that's why it's called a Web 2.0. Now, why are we so keen on personalized instruction? Because just take a look at the last sentence. Students who receive personalized instruction outperform 98% of students who do not receive personalized instruction. The best thing is that technology gives us the scope to do it. You can optimize personalized instruction experience when you're delivering it through technology, which is why we're talking about it today. Now, okay, right. Yeah, poll time, poll time. So, can you all log into paulev.com/shemajos147 either on your phones or on any connected device that you have, and please start responding to this, because all I'm asking is a very simple question. This is just to shake you up. That's it. You know, what is easier to personalize? Is it easier to personalize learning in a face-to-face class or on an online class? What do you think? Don't do the text. That's a little complicated. Do the paulev.com/shemajos147 face-to-face class. Absolutely, yes. Personalizing is possible in face-to-face class. So nobody thinks personalization is possible in an online class?
I mean, now with after this course, we have learned making those interactive videos and all, and so
So
we
go
can make
on.
it.
Yes. Go on, vote for online class. Okay, so yes, but thank you for that. Is that Vijaya?
Dikshit, madam, Dr. Uma Dikshit.
Ah, yes. All right, great. So now we have at least a 50% consensus. So yeah, all I'm asking you to think about with a poll like this is one, you know, how possible it is to make our face-to-face classes personalized. What are the problems when you make a face-to-face, when you attempt to personalize a face-to-face class? What are the problems that we face there? Remember last time we were talking about how it's not possible to get input from all students when you are trying to personalize a face-to-face class, because as teachers who are running after a prescribed syllabus and working against a restricted time, it's very difficult for us to seek input from all students. So one advantage of online classes is that the back channeling tools and the, you know, the like tools like this, the poll tools and all, allow us to take input and feedback from all students in the class. So it kind of saves you a lot of time and you know, in that way making personalization more possible in an online class. What was the second thing? Yeah, the second thing I wanted to talk about was that in a face-to-face class we are forced to you know, deliver the syllabus, you know, address the components of the syllabus, and many of us work with prescribed textbooks. So in a face-to-face class, it's like a generalized kind of teaching, you know, because the textbook is not for built or written for any specific audience, and nor are the worksheets that we bring into the class applicable to all 40 or 30 or 80 people sitting in our class. It's just not possible for us to personalize in terms of worksheets and textbooks that we use, activities that we use in a face-to-face class. However, an online class allows you to use multiple kinds of materials, multiple worksheets at different levels. Now, I know what you'll be thinking about right now. It is 3 times the work. It is 4 times the work. Of course it is. This is what teachers all over the world are talking about, that teaching an online class is 3 times the work that it is while teaching a face-to-face class. Now, I agree with that. I understand that because I have also been going through that. There's a lot of work required when you are delivering class in the online mode. But what you have to remember is that it's just the first phase. In the beginning, when you are settled with, for this particular topic, I can use these many materials, and here are worksheets ready for lower level learners, middle learners, and higher level learners. Once these things are set in place from the second round onwards, it's going to be an easy job. So I would really consider that personalized learning is more possible in an online class. And take a look at the next poll. I will not wait too much for this, but this is again, I will not wait to receive too many responses from you, but this is basically for you to understand that. Does it have a poll? Yeah, okay. Basically, for you to understand that these are various elements that we try to personalize when we deliver a face-to-face class. In a face-to-face class, we try to personalize the textbook. Many times we bring in anecdotes or share a story or build in a lower level material, or kind of do a little bit of brainstorming in order to personalize the textbook. We definitely personalize our lectures while we are delivering face-to-face classes, because we get feedback, whether conscious or unconscious, from students, and we modify our lecture based on that. We modify our activities, and of course we modify our assessment, because in a face-to-face class, we are constantly seeking and getting feedback from our students. Some of them might be looking at you with immense concentration and looking into your eyes. Some might be looking out through the window or passing notes. Now all these little things kind of tell us how interested they are in the class, and based on that we keep modifying what we are teaching and delivering. So while you are delivering your, now before you start delivering your lectures, how can you make them personalized? The first, and I would say the most cardinal rule when you deliver online lectures through a video conferencing tool is that chunking. Before you start delivering your lectures, before you actually deliver the live lecture, while you're preparing for the lecture, I would like you to think about chunking or segmenting them. This is not anything new for us as teachers. We've been all doing this, but it is very important in the case of online learning, because human memory can't hold more than 5 to 7 bits of information. There's this instructional rule, 5 plus or minus 2. This is as much as human mind can hold. It can take around 5 to 7, or I don't know, if you really push it hard, might be able to take 8 or 9, but I would say stick to 7 bits of information, because we are dealing with adult students. When you are delivering your lecture, ask yourself, okay, what's the portion I'm going to teach today? Chunk it into segments of 7 bits of information. So convert that into bullets, convert those 7 into 7 bullets that people can read and understand. Now, what happens when you cannot chunk a lesson? You stop after every 10 or 15 minutes, like uh, take a break, give a pause at the end of, yeah. Keep the talk short, 15 to 20 minutes, and then always start with your objectives. Remember mastery and purpose that I was talking about. Tell your students every day what they're going to learn in that day's class. Make it very clear so that at the end of the session, they will be able to cross-check whether they have learned it or not. So start with your objectives, convert your points to bullets, and if you cannot give them bullets, then stop every 15 minutes. And after you stop, what do? You give them an activity. We'll come to that later. Now, the other thing you can do as teachers is while creating, this is again before delivering your lecture. Okay, so before delivering your lecture, think about your objective, think about chunking, think about taking a break every 10 to 15 minutes. Before delivering your lecture, also try to visualize information as much as possible. Remember what I was talking about, what's his name, sorry, the HRD minister, Dr. Ramesh. Okay, the HRD minister and yes, thank you, thank you. Yes, there is also a Nishank somewhere, right? That is what kind of throws me off. I think that is a pen name or something like that.
Yeah.
So right now, so him, and also when Pragyata guidelines were being inaugurated, Ms. Nirmala Sitaraman, they were all talking about how important it is to visualize our teaching and learning, how important it is for us to use a lot of infographics and pictures and multimedia sources to support our classes. So I would like to say that the second thing, or the second most cardinal rule, is that when you create your presentations, try to have as many infographics or non-verbal images, in non-verbal resources to supplement each point that you are making, because all of you know that many of us are verbal and non-verbal kind of learners. There is also this thing of dual coding, when you're receiving information through the verbal format and the non-verbal format, your brain codes it 2 times. Your brain processes information twice, so that makes it easier. I mean, that paves the way for very meaningful and effective learning. So I would like to also say that especially in online context, this is quite possible because resources are available out there. So all you have to do is search for them. So please supplement your classes, your lectures, with images, because there is a difference between telling them and showing them. When you are using only verbal resources, you are actually just telling your students, as opposed to showing them. Take a look at this example, for instance, how I became a public speaker by G.V. Shaw. Somebody was trying to take this was being used for a model peer teaching class. So this person came with this image. This image kind of makes it very clear that the text is talking about how the writer went from this, scared and diffident, to a more confident speaker. So this is the power of images. You should be able to communicate your topic as well as key points through a lot of visuals and infographics. Infographics where information is converted to non-verbal formats like a tree diagram or a flow chart or a mind map. So using various forms like this to convert text information to the non-verbal format.
Ma'am, the voice is slightly not clear.
Oh, okay. Is this clear now?
Yes, now.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's fine.
Okay. Now my system has given up. Right. I'm going to stop share now because something has happened to my system. Okay, I have to. And I would, meanwhile, I will send you to.
Again break, madam. Again.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to share with you a tool. This is the, what do? I go to chat. Take a look at your chat window. Oh, okay. There were many of you talking about voice break. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, now shift from, is it possible? Is there a reason to shift from work to direct contact? I didn't understand that. I'm sorry. But please can you all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
audio. It's absolutely clear. It's crystal
Yeah,
clear.
I think the problem was when I get very excited, I kind of move back and forth and all over. And I think that is the problem. Okay, now please take a look at the Padlet link that I've shared with you. Oh gosh, I think I'll have to, my screen keeps going off. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to leave and restart. Okay.
कामिल साहब, हेलो।
हेलो
कामिल साहब,
जी सर।
या क्षेमा मैडम शायद लॉगिन रीलॉगिन होने की कोशिश कर रही है, हेल्प ट्राई करो उनसे। डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया शायद ना?
हाँ, उन्होंने डिस्कनेक्ट कर दिया था सर। वो अपना सिस्टम रीस्टार्ट कर रही थी।
हाँ, शायद वो रीलॉगिन कर रही, तो थोड़ा देखो, अगर वेटिंग में रहती हैं तो उनको वो एडमिट कर लो, ठीक है?
मैंने तो ऑलरेडी इनवाइट कर रखा है सर।
अच्छा,
कनेक्ट करेंगी तो आ जाएगा।
ठीक है, ओके, थैंक यू। मतलब वो कुछ ब्रेक ली है या वो टेक्निकल फॉल्ट है?
नहीं नहीं, अपना सिस्टम रीस्टार्ट किया सर वो।
ओके, ठीक।
हाँ, वॉइस नहीं आ रहा था तो उन्होंने सिस्टम रीस्टार्ट किया है।
फाइन, ओके, गो अहेड।
हाँ,
थैंक यू। आई थिंक वो प्लीज लेट मी इन कह रही है, देखो वेटिंग में तो नहीं है।
नहीं सर।
ओके, वो कह रही है वेटिंग में है, देखो एक बार।
नहीं सर, मैंने वेटिंग तो हटा रखा है अभी के लिए।
ओके,
वेटिंग में किस तरह से? नहीं सर, अभी तक नहीं दे रहा हूँ मुझे।
ओके।
सिस्टम रिस्टार्ट है ना, 1-2 मिनट लगेगा।
ओके,
राइट सर, गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
ओके। Hello.
Professor Rahman?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are you logging with for the same session, or because your name is not appearing in waiting?
Oh, I used the same link that you shared earlier.
Actually, I shared 3 links, all 3 sessions links. See if it is, session 1 only.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that. Session 6.1. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The time. Yes, sir. Got that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Sorry, am I in the right room now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Welcome back. Yes, ma'am.
Here I'm back again. I really don't know how to explain this, but something happened. There was a black screen and it says Zoom crashed and stuff like that. So what I will, one second, let me just share with you this. Yeah. Therefore, you remember the Padlet link I shared with you before I went offline and my system crashed. This is what I was telling you last time too. share an activity with your learners well beforehand so that they can do that while you work out your internet issues and system issues and all. So how many of you have been able to go to Padlet? I will share that with you now. Yeah, this is the link I shared with you. The Padlet link I had put on chat box. Please take a look at that. Padlet is another very useful Web 2.0 tool that one can use for collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and also creativity. Now, the Padlet that I've shared with you, can you all see this? Because what I'm asking you to do is, this is, so as a teacher, what do you do? When you create a Padlet account and start a Padlet is just like a sticky notepad. You know, you can click anywhere and you get a sticky note like this, and then you put in your title, whatever you want to say, and then you can write something about it, and you can upload a resource, you can link it to a website resource, you can search for something, put up a picture. There are lots of things that you can do with a Padlet. These are all things you could attach a location, link to another one of your Padlet, lots of things that one can do. Take a look at it whenever you have time. I'm not going to delete this. Yes. Okay. Yes. So what I'm asking you to do is share a topic and an image, because remember we were talking about using nonverbal resources. I would like you to share a topic that you teach, anything from your syllabus or your curriculum, and then attach an image that explains the topic. Take a look at what I have done here. I have, you're supposed to be able to move it around. Okay, yes. Right. So I'm talking about if I'm teaching a lesson on tsunami, here is a picture that I can attach. I can even attach links to it. I can send my students to other resources that I would like them to read. I can ask them to share resources that they think are useful to understand this lesson on tsunami. So on and so forth. Yes, the other thing I would like you to learn from this particular setup is that you as a teacher remember the voice thread I shared with you. So the first post is by you as a teacher explaining the task and the description of the task, explain the task, and then you put up a sample model for your students to follow. So if you can share something like this and then ask your students to do the rest of it, continue contributing to the Padlet, it makes a beautiful collection of resources for everybody to learn from. So there's a lot of communication, collaboration, and critical thinking, even creativity that goes into it. Now, for each sticky note or little note that you create, you can even have comments. You can send in comments to about each. So if you ask your students to, what I usually do is I ask each student to comment on another person's sticky note. So you can have each person look at a resource that another student has shared and talk about it, describe that in 1 or 2 words. So that's what will come under the comments box. Now, I don't see many of you. Maybe I'll just refresh this and check. Has anyone been able to contribute to this? Right. Okay. Yes, this is, yes. Right. All you need to do is that, double click somewhere and then send me a good morning message. If you do not have time to look for new resources, so put it that and then click elsewhere and that's it. It's done. Right. Okay. Now, you could just ask even as a warm-up activity, you can ask your students to share how they feel that day, or, share an important, oh, great. Now I have many of you. Yes. In fact, what I wanted you to do was share a topic and a corresponding image. So maybe sometime in the evening, when you're doing, maybe during the break, you can look at, think about any topic that you teach in class, osmosis or what nuclear fission, or for the maths teachers, I don't know, polynomials. That's what I know about class 10 maths. So whatever it is that you're teaching, see if you can talk about that topic a little bit and then share a resource that you would use for this. Right. Now, shall I stop share, and then we move on to this. I will close this because I think there is some problem with my, okay, then I go here and say share screen. I move to the PPT. Right, okay. Right, so that's what we were talking about as the second important role, after, of course, chunking and sharing your, shit, 1 second, F5, okay. Yes, the second role is to visualize as many points as possible using images, using multimedia resources, creating your own infographics. I hope you remember pictograph, canvas, and all as tools that we talked about the day before, as tools that one can use for creating infographics in 10 minutes time. Right, so Padlet is another one tool. Okay, now the third rule I would like you to think, I would like you to implement or make use of when you deliver your online classes is, this is again before you start actually delivering your presentation, linking. If there is a textbook that you're using, always link your lecture with the textbook. You know, it's always good to tell them which page or which paragraph, which lesson that you're talking about. Connect your lecture chunks with paragraphs in the textbook. And then, of course, one of the things that you can use, one of the activities that you can do when you're chunking or stopping every 10-15 minutes is asking them to just reread that portion. It's as simple as that. So we were talking about what do you do when you chunk, right? You stop every 10 minutes or 15 minutes. What if I do not have bullet points to show? What do? We make the students do something during that time. So that is linking. And then we are now slowly moving on to the actual delivery through online synchronous tools. Now, another task you could make your students do is do a create a warm-up activity. You know, give a pre-task activity, which is for activating their schema, a warm-up kind of activity, which we always do in classes. Remember to do that even in online classes. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not talking about anything new here. These are all activities and tasks we've been doing as teachers, but remember to do that even when you're doing an online class. So have warm-up collaborative tasks. Remember the mind map, Spider Scribe, mind map, MindMeister, Coggle, and all as tools that I talked about last time for mind mapping. That is a wonderful warm-up activity. So use something like that, and ask your students, you know, like if it is Tsunami or GB Show, for instance, ask them to talk about, you know, what do you know about GB Show? So you have students drawing branches and then people talking about different aspects and putting in. I'm not going into that because we've already looked at mind mapping tools. If we have more time, we will look at Spider Scribe as a mind mapping tool later at the end of the presentation. Another simple analogous task you can make your students do is, in the absence of, you know, when you have some students who do not have access to Web 2.0 tools or connected devices where they can, you know, the internet needs to be very strong. So if there is weak net connectivity and all, we talked about last time how we need to bring in analogous tasks. So be ready with analogous tasks for students who may not be able to access these Web 2.0 tools. The easiest thing to do is keep a list of your student names next to you. Keep calling out names, ask them questions, and either ask them to enable their audio or video to respond, or ask them to put in their responses on the chat box. Because believe me, if you do not use the chat box, they will use the chat box for so many other things. I see that happening in my house. So I would like you to think about, you know, using the chat box, the audio, video, everything available in a live synchronous video conferencing tool in order to deliver your lecture. Moving on, when you're actually delivering your lecture, what do? You take a look at, you know, do a camera check, because use the camera wisely is what you have said. Yes. So do a camera check. Look at what does the camera cover, you know, what does the camera show? So So if you remember from the last time's class, when the last time's class, I was sitting in another place where you had to go through my fridge repairman, and then my kids talking and shouting, and then I had to stop several times in between, asking them to keep quiet. I mean, these are all distractions. I agree, but remember, these are also good activities that can be used when you chunk, But then, jokes aside, it would be nice to keep changing the background of your camera check. So, take a look at this teacher who is showing students another angle, when she has to cover the blackboard. So, see if you can, because when I take classes, my students are so much more interested in, ma'am, what is this? And, when I'm sitting in another room, they ask me, ma'am, your lampshade is a little tilted. I mean, I'm talking about affordances and language learning, and I'm talking about so many things that are more important for their learning, and this is what they are more interested in. They're more interested in the lampshade and the dog that comes in. I have a dog, so the dog comes in between to check what I'm doing. So they're more interested in, ma'am, show us the dog. Ma'am, show us this. So this is what happens. So I would really say, to make it more interesting, keep changing your camera background, keep altering the talking head shot. This is the talking head shot, because when we are delivering an online class, all our students are able to see our face and our shoulders. So if you can keep changing that, make them see other things, so that kind of makes it easier, make it better. Change venues, in addition to Zoom and Google Meet and WebEx and Teams and several other things that we know of and we are familiar. There's also a Geo Meet app, and so there are lots of web conferencing tools out there. I would, if your university doesn't demand that you use only one, like for instance, in our case, we are supposed to do all official meetings and discussions over Google Meet. So if there is no restrictions like that, I would like you to explore varieties, so that your students become digitally literate and also they become a little less bored with the classes. So gobrunch.com is something that I will share that um, on the chat, because I'm scared to even move out of this, because I'm worried that I'm going to lose everything now. Let's see, where is the chat. Okay. Right, now Go Brunch is something new that I found about recently. What I like about this is that you can decide the number of students and the number of participants you have. So depending on the number of participants, they give you a round table, a horseshoe table, or a what do you call that, a gallery kind of class. So there are options, and when the students come in, they're asked to actually take a seat. So it kind of makes it a little more lively and interesting for students. The other thing that you can do is, of course, creating clusters. Because there are breakout rooms in Zoom and Google Meet. Everyone allows breakout rooms these days, even polls, so you don't have to have a poll everywhere coming in, but there are breakout rooms possible in most video conferencing tools. So create clusters of students, divide them into groups, and then, form them, assign them activities or little bit of teaching that they can do. So there is a sharing of load. So you tell each group to teach one paragraph or one topic, or something like that. So that's another thing that you can do to deliver your presentations wisely. This is what we should all be looking at a little more carefully. Use drama, because hiring a theater artist is something that schools and higher education institutions in several countries have done, and they find it extremely successful. Because remember, all teaching is storytelling. You are telling a story. It is your duty to make your students engrossed in what you're saying. So hiring a theater artist, of course, many of us are not going to do that, but in the absence of that, remember to smile, scowl, frown, laugh, it's do all these things looking at the camera. as if your students are already there. This chappie is from is one of the judges in The Voice, or some one of those judges. Okay, now look at the expression. I'm not saying imitate that, but I would really like you to practice with your voice, the low pitch and high pitch, and the voice that conveys enthusiasm, the voice that conveys laughter, the voice that conveys anger. I would like you to practice all that. There is a lion video here, which um, no, I won't show you that now. But all it's talking about is it's demonstrating different levels of voices. That's it. Because we're running out of time, I'm not going to go into that right now. If we have time, please remind me to show you this. This is a lion roaring in various tones and tempo and rhythm. It's nice to see that. Yeah, so you deliver awesome lectures that way. Now, once you start delivering lectures, you remember we were talking about chunking. We were talking about how you need to stop every 10-15 minutes and then do what? We call them interactive pauses, or pauses that allow the audience to take a break from your talk and then do something based on what you were talking about. So allow them to do something that will consolidate what you talked about in the last 15 minutes. Give them an activity that will help them understand or confirm what they have learned. And then, it also kind of prepares the ground for them to move to the next part of your presentation. One of the, without any tool, no, where is it? Without any tool, any extra tool, one of the things that you can do without going to any additional Web 2.0 tools, an activity, a very simple activity that one can do in a class. Why is it that I always find it difficult to find the chat? Okay. Something that we can all do in a classroom is creating collaborative notes. So if you take a look at the link I just shared with you, it's a Google document. Anybody who has a Google account can create Google Documents. Google Documents are wonderful for collaboration. So when you create bullets of your lecture, when you create bullet points out of your lesson, what you can do is, okay, I think I will open that. Okay, I see many of you are already there. Let me also come in. 1 second, I'll stop share and okay, yes. So, right, yeah, I was saying when you convert your text to bullet points, and when you think that this lesson has so many important points, put down those important points on a Google document, okay? And at the end of 15 minutes, ask your students to add to those points. Tell them, or put all your points on one side, and the next column you can ask them if they have understood each one, or if they have a question regarding each one, then they can put down the questions in the next column. Or you can, or just share a blank document. At the end of every 15 minutes, you can ask the class to contribute, put down all the important points that you've learned during these last 15 minutes and ask them to put it down in Google Docs. So there are multiple things that you can do. Sharing your, Ramakan, no. Sharing your points with, sharing your points with your students right at the beginning, and then asking them to add to it, or asking them to check if they have any issues, they have any questions. Based on that, so on and so forth. Okay, now I have some of you. Now, why do I see you as anonymous contributors? Because I only shared the, this is my sharing option. Anyone with the link can access, no sign in required, so on. Now, of course, when you're doing this as part of your classroom activity, you will be sharing this with students here you can all see this, right? Yeah, this is what you're seeing now. So you can add your students IDs here and share it with specific people only. Don't make it a public document, so that way you can control who contributes and who doesn't contribute, and you will be able to see the names of each student who is writing, rather than this is when it is anonymous. Google uses names of animals and birds, whereas when it is shared with specific people, you can see names of specific people here. Now, what about contributing to this? I was asking you to talk about the tools and how can they be used. Maybe sometime at the end of the lecture, all I want you to do is give me another tool that we've looked at. Yeah, we've looked at Penzu. How can it be? I don't think it should be they, it should be how can it be used? Right, Kahoot, thank you. Yes. Now, right, you see, while they are doing it, while someone is doing it, I can still make changes. So keep inserting rows below and then add to it. What is ZU? Right, okay, so keep doing that and Slido. I'll add more rows for you. And also say what it can do. Penzu can create multimedia texts. Okay, so on. So take a look at Padlet. That's right. It is, yes, that's right, Padlet. Now, if your students, there is an advantage of sharing it with anonymous users. I mean, if you don't share it with specific email IDs and share a link like this with your students who can come in as anonymous users and type, there is an advantage to that too, right? Because your students will be, I think they'll be more free with their responses and more honest with their feedback when you share it with anonymous users. So depending on what is it that you want to do, decide whether you want to use it with anonymous users or with specific email IDs. Okay, so I'm going to stop share now, and I will also close that because, I mean, you can continue using it, but I hope after my talk. And then let's go back to this quick. Okay. Right. So Google Docs is something that doesn't require, internet expertise or technology expertise to work on. It's just like a Word document, but it allows collaboration. It allows people to work together. Now, in addition to that, you can share a note like this, what you see on the screen. This is called, this is an interactive note-taking kind of template which you share with your students either on WhatsApp or email it to them and ask them to take a print, because that, this is for analogous tasks, paper-based tasks, and ask them to share 3 things that this is again for interactive pauses. When you stop after 15 minutes, what do we do? This is what we're talking about. These are questions that you can ask them at the end of every 15 minutes. There is no collaboration, there is no communication, but there is still learning happening. There is still meaningful learning happening because you're talking about application questions, consolidation questions, not just checking the facts that they have learned. And even notes. Systematic note taking is what I meant by a template like this, where the book signifies facts that they have learned. This is the new ideas that they have learned. Tick is for things that they can apply, facts that they can apply, learning that they have acquired and which have application possibilities. And this denotes, of course, questions that they have based on your class. So systematic note taking, this template is taken from the source. Systematic note taking is something that you can ask your students to do while you give them the interactive pause. Now, in addition to all this note taking, In addition to note taking and note making, there is something else that you can do to make interactive pauses or make your lectures more personalized. Back channeling tools or using questions to seek and continuously receive feedback from your students. These are various types of questions that one can use while you are delivering your class. Now, questions have been always one of our, when we say when I say our, I don't mean teachers, I mean mankind's most favorite tool or technique. Three most widely asked questions right now. When will the pandemic end? Of course, yes. Am I audible now? Can you see my screen? You must have heard me use these questions at least 10 times by now. So questions always serve a point, serve a point. They serve a very good purpose. It gives you feedback from your audience, from the receivers. That's why it's called back channeling, because the first channel is from the speaker to the audience, to the receivers. And there is also another channel that comes back from the audience back to the speaker. That is called back channeling. Doubts? Okay, right. So using questions can serve as very good interactive pause activity. You can ask them straightforward fact-based questions, which is what most of us do. You can make them do brainstorming, rhetorical questions, surveys. Remember, the polls are good back channeling tools. Whether you use a Mentimeter or a poll everywhere or a built-in poll in Zoom and Google Meet, whatever it is that you use, every 10-15 minutes have a poll, because it breaks it up and you get information from students get information about what you are doing. Remember the questions that I had about what is most easy to personalize: textbook, activity, worksheet, so on, assessment. It served the purpose of telling you things without me actually having to tell you things. So you could use questions like that, build questions into your talk, so on, so on, so on, so on. Yes. Moving on, variety of questions. We all know these types of questions. All I'm saying is, let every 15 minutes not be an interactive poll. You should also be able to handle a variety of questions. I mean, give them a variety of questions. These are some questions that you could take a look at once I share the PPT. I'm a little worried whether I should go to this or not, because this thing kind of crashes my system. Okay. Okay, yes. Right. Now, while your class is going on, we talked about polls. The interactive pauses that you give can be questions, can be polls, can be notes that they make individually or together on tools like Google Docs or what was the other thing? Google Docs, Padlet. These are all tools that one can use for note making, systematic note taking, the templates that one can share with students. I'm not saying do all of them. I'm saying use one every lecture. That's enough. That's more than enough, because that is enough variety and entertainment for students. Now, another tool that I would like you to look at, this I would like you to work with also. I'm going to share this on your chat. Where does it come? Okay. Okay, please go to this link that I've shared and search for this number. You could directly go to this, or you could search for this number. Okay, I'm also going to do that, and then I'll share screen. Should I use this on Bing or this? Okay, I'll stop share And then I'll share the answer garden. Okay. Okay, so if you can see my screen now, this is the link I was asking you to visit, answergarden.ch. The CH part, I don't know, but answer garden is because it's like a garden. You can plant your answers. That is what the site talks about, you know, if you read that. Now here, what would I like you to do? I would like you to go to this search thing, the search icon, okay? And search for, so it says access, let me just move this. Access and answer garden, type in this ID 1313073. Alternately, you can click the second link I sent you. Okay. Now this is an answer garden I created to ask you, why should digital literacy skills be developed in our students? What you have to do is type in your answer here and click submit. Your answer shows up here in this garden. Okay. So that's the whole idea. What did I also do as a teacher? I did yesterday when I was creating this, I also typed in a few answers so that you will see what are possible answers. And these will also trigger further answers in your mind. So it becomes, you know, easier for you, better for you. Okay. I'll just refresh it so I can see more answers. Have you been, okay, yeah, I see there are many of you who've come in. And I see several responses. Okay, now the good thing about this kind of a format, now Answer Garden also allows you polls and word clouds and brainstorming and short answer questions and, you know, several things like that. Now the good thing about this particular format that I chose is that it tells you how many people have given similar responses. So what is biggest, what is largest is what is most responded to. So this is I have maximum responses, that is collaboration and critical thinking. And yeah, harnessing personality, need of time to, yes, essential for survival, so on and so forth. Yes. I'm hoping many of you have been able to do this.
Oh, so these were the responses shown
Yes,
in this.
yeah, there are some of you some of you who have already logged in. All you have to do is just go to this answergarden.ch 1313073. This is the, okay, maybe I'll share it in a larger. Have you all been able to see that? I always miss the chat. Okay, if you look at your chat box, I see, CH is Switzerland. Okay, thank you, Dr. Rahul. Okay, so, right. If you take a look at your chat box, this is for the rest of you. You see this first link that I shared, answergarden.ch. You could either click that or click the next one. You know, 1313073 is the code for the Answer Garden that I created for you. So either you go to answergarden.ch and then click the search button, that's this lens kind of thing, and then this is the ID. Alternately, you open this link, okay? And then you'll be able to reach this page and submit your responses. I'll do a, right, I've got many more. This is what I wanted. I wanted many of you to talk about creativity, so thank you for that. Now, what I would like you to do is go back to Answer Garden. Okay, we're going to run through how to create an answer garden. What you do is This is the original, I mean, this is the, what do you call that? The home page, the main website, okay? So go into this and then click on this plus. That is to create an answer garden. This is where you search for an answer garden. These are for things I haven't looked at. Okay, maybe you should take a look at it later. But click on this, create an answer garden, okay? This is how you create something for your students. This is mine that's already there. I have already created something for Bernard Shaw and things like that. So you, what is the, what's the best thing for breakfast? Okay, that's my topic. More options, it can be brainstorming, classroom, moderator decided, or logged. Answer length, you can decide it to be 20, which is pretty small, and 40, 20, I mean, it has its advantages. Admin password, if you want it to be password protected, otherwise it is all right. You really don't need a password for this, and a reminder email and so on if you want to, right? And decide on this if you want answers to be in lowercase, uppercase, or no changes. So, and discoverability, whether it should be open for 1 hour, because if you're doing it just before the class, you need to be open only for 1 hour, 1 day, a week, or remains hidden. And then you just click on create. That's it. So you have a new, okay, you have a new answer garden created. This is the code for this answer garden. So all you need to do is ask your students to go to answergarden.ch and share this code with them, 1314101. They'll be all able to type in their answer here and submit it. So that's it. I'm going to stop share. Moving on, we're almost reaching. I need to show you the collaborative whiteboard before this ends. Okay. So that's it about answer garden. Remind me to show you this if we have time. I'll share this link with you. I would also like you to go to, these are other back channeling tools or sites, websites through which you can continuously receive student feedback. Dot storming is something I created for us. Go soapbox, let's see if I have 10 minutes. No, yeah, I think I'll show you this too because we have 10 minutes. Where's my chat? Okay. Okay. On the chat box, I've shared a new link with you. So please go to that link and it will ask you for an event access code. Okay. This is the event access code. This is a tool that allows you to create an entire class online. So while your lecture is going on, you can ask students to report whether they are confused or whether they have understood a certain point. They can mark it there, and you can create polls, you can create brainstorming sessions, you can even moderate discussions on GoStop. I'm not going in there because I would like us to move on to whiteboarding tools. Now, these are other tools that one can use for back channeling. Even the stream of Google Class is good enough for back channeling. You don't need to use all these fancy tools. You use just the stream function of Google Class. your WhatsApp page, your Facebook page, anything where students are allowed to submit their feedback. That should do. Now we come to the second part of our lecture. In 10 minutes to end, and then we are at the second part of our lecture, where we talk about collaboration tools through whiteboard. Remember, the talk is on video conferencing, live lectures, and collaboration using whiteboard tools. What are whiteboard tools? They are just like the whiteboards that we have in our classes, the blackboards and whiteboards that we have in our classes. The advantage is that the teacher can write, students can write along with the teacher, or come and make changes. You can ask students to come and write on the board for everyone to see. It's almost like the Google document that I shared with you all. Everyone can write and everyone can see. The teacher can also keep looking and correcting and give feedback, so on. So that's a whiteboard, as simple as that. It's a collaborative tool. It allows communication. Depending on the tasks that you create, it allows critical thinking and creativity. It creates opportunities for development of critical thinking skills and creativity in your students. Some samples that we're going to look at, we'll just look at one sample, okay? Now, a whiteboard on Moodle is called a whiteboard. By the way, the big blue button on Moodle is again a tool that you can use to deliver live lectures. I'm sure someone must have talked to you about this. Like we are using Zoom now to deliver a live lecture, or this kind of seminar, you can use the big blue button on Moodle to do that, just like you would use WebEx or Teams or Google Meet or whatever. So depending on the the platform or the site that you use, they use different name terms for this. That's it. So on Moodle, the collaborative whiteboard is called a whiteboard itself. When you come to Google, the collaborative whiteboard is called a Jamboard. We're going to look at a Jamboard today. And then in addition to that, there are several other whiteboard tools like Whiteboard, okay, WITE. There is Draw Attention is another tool. There's Open Board, there's Web Whiteboard, there's iDrew, Scribbler. So these are all whiteboards that are available for free out there on the World Wide Web. So we're going to look at Jamboard today. Let me share this link with you all. Okay, please go there, because this is a, yeah, like I've been telling you, this is a whiteboard. Is it on my schema or is it on my? University. All right. Okay, so I am going to go to the whiteboard, Jamboard. Google calls it Jamboard. Right. Are you all able to see my screen now? Can you see my screen now? Am I audible now? Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Good morning. Somebody is already here. Good work. Before I was, yes. So that's it. It's as simple as that. Okay. So, right. Now let's quickly look at how it works. Right here, you can name your Jamboard. Maybe I should start by creating a new one, right? I'll let you all work here. The task is, this is an image that I've put in and I'm calling it collaboration. And then I say, oh, the handwriting is not good. So I click on eraser and I rub it all off. And I use, you can draw, you can write, you can type, you can use a, can someone write collaboration for me? Okay, I'm going to use a slightly, yeah, you see the problem? So on. Okay, now, yeah, somebody can go ahead and, yeah, please do. Now, so I'm going to run you through creating. You see, when you share your Jamboard with your students, this is what happens. Somebody has already renamed my Jamboard. Somebody has written over my writing. Lock the door. Okay, so, but what did I do? What did I create this Jamboard for? I wanted this Jamboard to collect responses from you regarding advantages and disadvantages of collaboration. Okay. So this is what a Jamboard is all about. Now, can we move to a new one? Yeah, because I'm going to move to a new one. Okay. What do? You create a new, this is how you start. You create a new frame. You call it a new name. You say demo. So you name your jam, and then you can change the background. You can have a clear background or colors or lines and all. If you are making them right, graphs, you can do anything that you want. So let's use one like this. Okay, so you create a background, and then you decide how you want to write with what colors. So you say so on. Okay, and then you don't like it, you erase. This is the select tool. We'll come to that. A sticky note. What do you think? Okay, and then you can paste it anywhere you want, and you can move it around. So on, right? And you can even add an image. You can create your own image or take it from anywhere, and then upload an image and put it up here. You can use the laser tool is for you to point out. So while you are teaching, you can use the laser tool to tell your students. I don't like the red laser. I think we will use the blue laser. Okay. So you use the laser tool to tell your students, this is what I was talking about, and then we should need to be looking at. So anytime you want to highlight something while you are lecturing, while you are talking, so you say, look at collaboration. So laser tool kind of allows you to highlight, and then it fades. Okay. Now, when you share it with your students, the problem is that they will be able to delete what you have done, or they'll be able to rewrite what you've done, things like that. Now, at that time, you could talk about little digital citizenship skills. You can talk about why before deleting something or making a change, it is wise to always ask the other person, so on. So there is a little bit of collaboration and building up of digital citizenship skills there. So this is one way you can make sure there is collaboration and sharing that is more responsible. Okay. Now, the other thing that you can do with a Jamboard is, now, for instance, with a Jamboard is you can create multiple Jamboards for different students. So see, the thing with Jamboard is, unlike a large whiteboard that we have in our classes, the Jamboard doesn't allow scrolling. Okay, you cannot go scroll down, or up. It cannot do that. There is only so much space. So instead of scrolling, like for instance, a maths teacher or a science teacher who might want to demonstrate a problem might, once this is filled up, you might want to go to the next screen. and then the next screen, so on. So that is one way of using the Jamboard. The other thing you can do is allot each. So I say collaboration, and this is for Satish to talk about, right? Is there a Satish here? I don't know. And then I say talk about collaboration, and this is for Aziz to talk about. This is Aziz's page. And then I allot another page for Parveen. I mean, see, I don't have to do this. I can even make it better. Okay, I can say this is for Parveen. Okay, so I can allot each board for each student. If this is especially good for things where activities where you want individual responses. So you have a maths problem and you put the same maths problem, copy and paste it onto duplicate it. Okay, so here you can duplicate that. Okay, and you move to the next one and you paste that here. And then you move to the next one, you paste it here, so on. Okay, so you are asking each student to put in their response on a separate frame. This way, they will be, their comments and changes and all will be restricted to one frame. They will not go and look at what the other, I mean, though they can, you should be able to tell them not to go and look at what other students are doing. So maths problems and science problems which have factual responses and which have one correct answer, where you do not want students to copy from each other, you can share screens like this with them for individual work. And the good thing is, you as a teacher will be able to go and look at what each person is doing. All you need to do is go click, click, click. You say, okay, now let me look at what Satish is doing. And you say this, and you say, Satish, no, this is not correct. You need to be doing, there is only one, the spelling is not correct, so on. So as a teacher, you should be able to correct what each person is doing. This is something that a Jamboard or a whiteboard allows you to do. I'm past this. Okay, so right now I get back to this and I share this function F5. Okay, now I may not have been able to talk about all the purposes and functionalities of a whiteboard or a Jamboard, as Google calls it. I'm sure there are lots of other things that one can do with a Jamboard or a whiteboard, as the case may be. All you have to do is, like I told you yesterday, go into the search engine, Google or Yahoo or any other search engine that you're using, and you say, using Jamboard in a chemistry class, search for that. Or using Jamboard in a mathematics class, using Jamboard to develop writing skills in my students, or using Jamboard to teach grammar to my students. You have much better responses there than what Kshema can give you. So, and then if you think Jamboard is getting a little too boring, please take a look at the other tools that are available here. You can, I mean, there are so many. Each tool has a, has its own advantages and disadvantages. So you should be able to choose a tool depending on what you are teaching and what your students are comfortable with. Now, for instance, yeah, what is it that I wanted to, this, this one, this whiteboard, the one without the H, whiteboard.com is something, it's like Answer Garden. You can create it on the go. You don't need to create it beforehand and share and things like that. You can create it right when you are taking your class and, ask your students to come and collaborate on it, and disappears at the end of your class. So this is something that can be used if you don't want your board activities to be saved and shared and all. Whereas on a Jamboard, it remains in your Google Drive. It remains there for you to look at later on, and it can be saved out. I didn't explain that, right? Let me, if I haven't closed it, yes. Okay, now while you are the sharing option, of course, is something that you will have to decide on how you share it with your students. More actions, Your students can download it as a PDF and email it to you. They can save frame as an image and mail it to you, or click a picture and mail it to you. There are different ways of sharing a Jamboard activity with the teacher. Okay, now to get back to our all right. This is something I always forget. F5, right? Okay, so that's it about whiteboard tools, tools that allow collaboration while your classes are going on. And then we come to the post-lecture strategies. At the end of my lecture, how do I ensure student learning? How do I measure student learning? You can have exit slips, ask them to write on a piece of paper, 3 most important points they studied. For analogous activities, you can ask students to write on a piece of paper and send you a picture of that, okay? You can ask students immediate questions for assessment. You can have students to, press conference is something that has worked very well in my classes, where you put them in groups and ask them to ask you questions about the class, instead of you asking them questions, students can ask you questions in turn. So this is another thing you can use as a post-lecture strategy. Why did I say only one? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, see, what I would like you to think about is think about your own face-to-face classes, because we've been all teaching for years. We all have our practices and best practices in our mind. We know what works best, and we know how to get that activity across to our students in a face-to-face class. All I want you to do is think about that activity that worked well in your class and ask yourself, how can I do it in the online teaching mode? Because like I told you in the previous class, everything is teachable. All you need is an idea. If you have an idea, it is techable. Any idea is techable. You have a technology tool to implement any idea that you have. So you say, I want my students to what do you call it, mind map. I want my students to do a mind mapping. I want my students to do a mind mapping plus sharing pictures. I want my students to share pictures and write a little bit about that. I want my students to share their audio responses. I want my students to talk to each other and have a constructive discussion. Whatever it is that you have in your mind, go to the search bar and look for free web 2.0 tool for sharing multimedia resources, or free web 2.0 tool for creating audio resources, free web 2.0 tool for something. I'm eating into your break time, I know. So all I'm saying is think about an idea, and that's all you need. There's a free tool available for that. Yeah, okay, I've reached the end of my presentation. So that's it. Share screen is done, no? Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's it. And do I? Okay. Okay. Are there any questions?
Ma'am, when we are using whiteboard or anything of that kind, sometimes our handwriting is, very, unless we are used to writing on that. I just heard, but I don't know, is there any handwriting tool?
Yes.
Where,
you know what you should do? It is not available on their web format. Download Jamboard app on your mobile phone.
Okay.
On the mobile phone, it has handwriting recognition tool. It has drawing recognition tool. So on a Jamboard on the laptop, if I try to draw a tree, it may not even look like a tree. But if I try to draw it on my mobile phone, it recognizes the drawing recognition tool, recognizes it as a tree, and it puts up a better looking tree there.
Okay.
So the mobile app tool has 2 extra functions than what is available on the website app.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Well, for the past 6-7 days, almost 5 days, and this is the 6th day one, we have learned many number of web-based tools, basically, and various platforms. Moodle is one of them, definitely. But I think what is more important is that which of the two is this the judgmental on the teacher aspect? Which tool is the most appropriate for a particular type of topic? Is it on a judgment of a teacher? Or Any tool can serve for interactivity. Any tool can serve for interactivity.
Right. See, Web 2.0, the whole definition of Web 2.0 is that it allows interaction, right? So if you're using a Web 2.0 tool in your class, it means you are signing up for communication, collaboration, and interaction. Depending on the activity you make them do, it will decide whether you are promoting critical thinking or collaboration or synthesis or creativity. Sorry, not collaboration. Critical thinking, creativity, synthesis, analysis. What you are making your students do will depend on the activity or the task that you deliver through the collaboration tool. So there is collaboration and interaction as default available in Web 2.0 tools, any that you use. Now, is there a best tool? No. It depends on why are you using, what is the purpose of your tool. Now take for instance Padlet. You remember the blue screen Padlet that I shared?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Now if you look at Padlet, I as a teacher might be able to use it for a pre-reading activity. I might want to use it as a while reading activity. I might want to use it as a post-reading activity. I might use it for building my students' speaking skills because they can record and share. I might use it to build my students' writing skills, listening skills. I can do anything. I can teach them grammar. I can teach them vocabulary. I can teach chemistry. I can teach maths. I can do a lot of things on just on Padlet. So also on VoiceThread, so also on Jamboard. So you don't have to think about using a variety of tools. Just take any one tool, look at the functionalities it offers, look at what are its features, what are the functions it offers, how can I use that in my classroom. So just one tool will lend itself to multiple types of users. So you don't have to think about should the teacher know how to use 100 different tools. No, if you're good with just Kahoot and Mentimeter, just Kahoot and Padlet, or VoiceThread and Mentimeter, or just Jamboard, with just Jamboard, there's multiple things that one can do. You know, you can use it for brainstorming, you can use it for working out problems, you can use it for sharing resources. A lot of things can be done using just one tool. It all depends on why are you using it and how are you using it. That's it.
One more question. It's related to your 1 or 2 day back H5P interactivity. That's the aspect.
I didn't do H5P, but yes, ask me. I'll see if I can respond to that.
Ma'am, on the other day, I was actually doing an interactive. I was making an interactive because one of the aspect of that is of entire workshop is that one. Can we? What is the likelihood of it? What is the span of a video? One should be of an interactive video span, a duration span, and how many activities can be injected in an interactive video. How many activities?
Right. You know, are you talking about this from a technology point of view or a pedagogy point of view?
I'm talking about more about them from the pedagogical point of view.
Right. Pedagogy, yes, pedagogy I can answer because technology I cannot answer. That's why. Pedagogy, I would still stick with what I was talking about today, chunking. Nothing more than 10 minutes. Nothing, definitely not more than 15 minutes. Because think about your students. How much do you think they'll be able to, will they be able to sit and listen to a video for 15 minutes unless it is so engrossing? You know, give them a movie perhaps, you know, maybe a movie is something that they can watch for 15 minutes, but a TED talk or a YouTube talk on a lecture or a tutorial, nobody will want to watch for 15 minutes. So I would ideally like it to, you know, the other day when I was trying to create interactivities for a talk by Professor Sarangi that he delivered in EFLU, what I thought of was, if I think an important point has been addressed already, there I break it. So I actually break it depending on the learning points or the number of learning points available. So if there is something important that has been addressed by the speaker, break it, insert an interactivity, and then move them on to the next part, because that is one way of consolidating what has been done already. And then also you can also, if you think a new point or an important point is coming up somewhere ahead, I would say break it up before that, because you can help them predict and build their advanced learning skills into, you know, into that interactivity that you're creating. So there, aren't any hard and fast rules, but usually the instructional designers rule of thumb, or the most cardinal rule for instructional designers is the 5 plus or minus 2, not more than 7 points. That's it. So if you think 5 important points have happened, I would say break it, because the 15 minutes for an asynchronous video is too much. It's very difficult for them to look at unless like I was telling you, unless you are showing a movie. You can use a movie and then have an interactivity at the end of every 15 minutes or 20 minutes. If it's a lecture, I would say 7 minutes to 10 minutes. That's it. And then break it into an interactivity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, there is a small, hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Just for an example, like in case we are going to start online classes, things are not normal. While in any case like Zoom or Google Meet, will these tools be, used simultaneously? We can use these tools to take online classes?
Yes.
Or we need to train students about this basic, like?
No, I would actually say, what you can think about is deliver. This is something that we worked out for our distance learning students who are participants in our PGCT, PGDT, which are run by the School of Distance Education. What the teachers there did was they recorded a lot of lectures, because remember, a lot of our lectures are book based, right? There is theory that we have to teach our students. So such theoretical classes can be recorded by you on your laptop or on your mobile phone, and convert them into video clips. Make video files, and you can either put it up on your university website or share it through YouTube channels. Create your own YouTube channels and share it with your students. Tell your students, listen to my lecture number 1 and then come to the class. So when you do a Zoom or Google or Microsoft Teams kind of live lecture, it's easier for you because they've already listened to something and then they come in better prepared for discussion. So the live classes become better through that. And all you need to do is share, like what I got. Professor Rahman shared the link for this talk with me. And so you will be doing that. You will be sharing the link with your students on your WhatsApp group, and students will click on that and they will listen to you. And they would have already heard the pre-recorded lecture first. They would have also read the textbook, maybe a particular lesson or part of a lesson. And then when they come to your live classes, their participation, attention, and understanding will be better. And then the Zoom lectures or Google Meet lectures, you can break every 15 minutes, make them do a poll or give them an activity, give them another activity on Padlet or Kahoot, or just use Google Board, or in the absence of Moodle, you can use Google Class for these activities, or the other one that I shared, what was that? GoSoapbox.com. You can use any one of these tools as part of it if you do not have a learning management system like Moodle. See, the advantage with Moodle is your quizzes, your activities, your students' answers, everything is available in one place. As opposed to having a Zoom lecture like what I did, I used a Padlet, I used a Kahoot, I used a Mentimeter. So my student responses are spread all over the internet. It's very difficult for me to collect them as a teacher. Whereas a learning management system like Moodle will allow you to put all responses together in one place. So depending on how you want to deliver, you should be able to use the tools as and when the need arises. Otherwise, I would just say stick to pre-recorded lectures, textbook, and live lectures. That's it. All your answers and correspondence can be via email or a WhatsApp chat group. That's enough.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
I can hear you. Yes.
Can we use Web 2 for multiple choice question?
Web, which one?
Web 2, 2.0.
Web 2.0.
Ji.
Which tool will you use for multiple choice question? You can use Kahoot, which is a Web 2.0 tool. Kahoot is an example for Web 2.0 that you can use for multiple choice questions.
Yes.
Go Formative is an example for example of Web 2.0 that you can use for multiple choice questions. So Web 2.0 is an umbrella term.
Okay.
All the tools we've looked at, Kahoot, Mentimeter, Padlet, VoiceThread, Spider Scribe, everything are examples for Web 2.0.
Okay. सही है.
Ma'am, one more question.
Yes.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, since I think I am almost a novice in technology. I have learned in last 6 days
Yes,
so
sir.
much of technology. Now, similar is the case with my students also. Similar is with the case of my students also. Now, what is the starting point for them? Starting point for the Zoom is a tool, is a classroom, more of an online virtual classroom.
Mhm.
But in the case of Web 2.2 tools, since I am a novice, I have started using it. Now, similar is the case of my students. So what is your instruction, or what is your piece of advice to teachers like me to how to train my students to use those kinds of tools, Web 2 tools? Anyone, Kahoot or any other tools?
Yes, speaking from experience, I would say, sir, during these last 6 days sessions, were you able to use many tools while the lectures were going on? Were you able to
Yes,
use?
yes,
So
yes, yes.
that's it. It's as simple as that. If you've been able to use them, your students will be able to use them. Now, speaking from experience, I would say use tools that do not require students to sign in and start an account, because that is a little, it's like one step away from responding. So something like Kahoot doesn't require your students to create an account or sign in or anything. So Kahoot is quite easy. Poll Everywhere that you use as part of your PowerPoint lectures is something, again, that is easy for students to respond to. Answer Garden doesn't require your students to create an account. So anything that is a single step access for students, that is good enough for starters. Anything that does not require, when you contributed to the Padlet, the blue screen thing, did you all have to create an account?
No.
No. So Padlet, that is again a single step access. So at one click, if my students can enter the tool and contribute to it, I would say use that, because that's easier. Whereas some other tools like VoiceThread and MindMeister, Spider Scribe, these are all tools that will ask you to create an account. So when a tool requires a student to create an account, it is slightly difficult, because it is a 2 or 3 steps access into the tool, as opposed to Jamboard. I just shared the link with you and you are all there. I shared the link with you to Padlet, you are all there. So some Kahoot, I shared the number with you and you are all already accessing it. So tools like that are good for first step. So I would say
Thank you,
start with such tools. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are we done? I've taken up your break time too. Professor Rahman.
But it is important, informative, and it's always enriching.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a pleasure talking to you all. And please keep in touch if there are issues, if there are problems. Please talk to me. I've shared my email ID with you. So, and let me know how it goes. Once you start, and Dr. Ziauddin, it is not whether we are going to teach online, it is you are going to teach online. I mean, we are going to do that. Yes. So keep me posted how it goes, how much you enjoy, how much you dislike, and the problems you faced. Let me know how it went. Thank you so much, everybody. Professor Rahman, can I log out?
Yeah, before logging off, thank you so much, madam.
Thank you.
Not only provided fishes and nets, you also have provided the ocean.